This is your dose of daily market wisdom with master trader Nick Santiago. Starting from humble beginnings, Nick has been beating the markets for over 2 decades. He shares with you his take on the profitable trades that will have you moving towards financial freedom in no time at all. To see an in-depth review of his track record and much more, go to inthemoneystocks.com.
Welcome. This is your daily dose of daily market wisdom with master trader Nick Santiago. I'm Kerry Lutz. It is February 1st, 2023. This is show number 461. Huge day for the markets, huh, Nick?
It is a very, very big day, Kerry. We're going to have the Fed announcement out at 2 p.m. They're going to make their interest rate policy decision for the U.S. The central bank is expected to raise rates by 25 basis points. As always, that number is pre-forecasted to us, so that's baked into the cake already. But the verbiage could be what moves markets, so we'll have to wait on that. As always, you're going to have to look at gold, you're going to look at silver, you're going to look at the dollar. There's going to be a lot of different things in play today after the Fed announcement. And as always, Jay Powell does hold a press conference, I believe, at 2:30 p.m., That's about 30 minutes after the release of the statement, and that could be important as well. That could move markets also. So we have to watch that, but it's definitely a very, very big day today for the major indexes.
And not to mention that we get the earnings tonight from from Meta, and then tomorrow we get earnings from a number of others.
Yes, tonight we have Meta, plus, we're in full gear now with earnings season, so we're going to get lots of different important companies reporting. But as you mentioned, Meta is tonight, and then tomorrow we have Apple, Google, and Amazon. And then Friday morning, don't forget, we get the non-farm payroll report. So that's also a market-moving event as well. So there's a lot happening. This is probably one of the bigger weeks that we are looking at in general with the Fed today and the earnings announcements, and then the non-farm payroll report on Friday.
Right. Yeah, non-farm payroll. What's your take on it? Is this going to be a non-event or important?
Well, no, I think it'll be somewhat important, even though I don't believe the numbers. But, if the number comes in a little bit hot, that's going to have the Fed, people talking about the Fed raising rates. If the number comes in a little bit soft, people will start to say, hey, maybe the Fed could ease off. So I think even though we have the Fed announcement today, I think they're still going to be in play when that number comes out, because they do, the market does look at that jobs report as somewhat of a market-moving news item, even though, if you do the math on how they come up with those numbers, it's a little bit fishy. But, it is what it is. The market keys off of it, and we have to pay attention to it as well.
Right. Yeah, like you often wonder. I think the same people come up with the jobs numbers that come up with the inflation numbers,
Oh, I think they're the same people. I mean, it might be the Bureau of Labor Statistics that does it all. I'm not really sure. But either way, when you look at some of these numbers and how they're calculated, and then they change the formula and then they don't calculate it the same way, really, it's hard for me to really get my head around any truth behind the numbers. But the markets react off of them, and I just care about the reaction in the market overall.
Yeah, I guess perception is reality to a lot of fund managers and major market participants, huh?
I guess it is. And like I always tell my members, I said, we don't even care what they say. Even today, Jay Powell's going to raise rates by a quarter point. I have no idea what he's going to say afterwards. Maybe he'll, be data dependent. Maybe he's got to go to 5%. Who knows what he's going to say? But what we care about is the reaction. Does the market move higher? Does the market start to sell off on the news? And that's where we look at the charts, Kerry. I'm just never smart enough in my lifetime. I've never been smart enough to figure out what these guys are going to say or do, or how to even make money off of that. It's always been about the chart, and the chart, tells us where is a footprint of human nature. So that tells us where price action is ultimately going to go.
Right. Hey, so markets today are trading lower, huh?
Yeah, markets are getting a little bit on the weaker side. The Dow, believe it or not, is leading the major indexes down. So that's not a bad thing. The Dow is down about 1%, 350-point decline. The S&P is only down about 0.6% right now, so that's not that big a deal. The NASDAQ is also down by 0.6%. That's not that big a deal either. And the one thing I always tell traders to key off of, and this is something the listeners may want to do, is watch the semiconductors. Today, the semiconductors via the SMH, that's the VanEck Semiconductor ETF, that's up a little over 1%. And as long as the semiconductors hold up, usually the markets are fine. If the semiconductors start to give way, then I would start to go into more cautious mode. But right now, I don't see anything really that discouraging in the semiconductors today.
All right. Well, I guess that's a good thing, right?
It's always a good thing, and we'll keep monitoring it. But it's a very, very good leading indicator, especially for somebody that's a new listener or somebody that's not very familiar with tracking markets. But the semiconductors doing well today, and looks like AMD is leading that charge. They reported earnings. That stock's up about $5.
All right. So what's doing with the metals sector right now?
Yeah, so today we got kind of a flattish type day in the metals. We're looking at silver basically down a touch, maybe a little over 0.25%, 0.25%. And then we have gold actually positive now by about 0.1%. So, it's kind of a flat day in the metals. They're going to probably remain a little bit quiet here until the Fed announcement, and that Fed announcement will be out at 2 p.m. That's when I think we'll start to see the metals start to move either up or down, depending on the hawkish stance or the dovish stance that Jay Powell gives us.
All right. Well, that is it for today. I guess we'll just have to sit back and see what the Fed does, because that's what makes the world move, evidently. But what you should do is go over to Nick's site, inthemoneystocks.com. See how he's beaten the averages for decades. See his latest calls, a lot of good ones recently, that's for sure. And while you're at it, take a look at the Twitter feeds at ITMS, at Nick Santiago 01, at Kerry Lutz, emails kl@kerrylutz.com. Put your comments below on the YouTube channel. Nick, we'll talk to you on Friday.
Sounds good, Kerry.